The movie begins at a funeral home owned by a man named Elliot Deacon. Elliot seems to enjoy the job of preparing dead bodies for the funeral, and he's often seen talking softly to them. Just like any other day, he's seen talking to an old man's body who's considered dead. He then prepares the body for the funeral and snaps a photograph of that old man. In the next scene, we see Anna, a middle school teacher, making out with her boyfriend, Paul. However, she doesn't appear to be having fun while making love to Paul, who's a lawyer. It looks like something's bothering her, preventing her from being happy and cheerful. It appears that Anna has lost interest in her life and stays depressed most of the time. As a result, both Anna and Paul feel their relationship is fading away due to insecurities that Anna has within herself. Next, it's revealed that the old man who's seen dead at the start of the movie is Anna's piano teacher. She attends the teacher's funeral, where Elliot is the one who arranges the event. There, Elliot notices Anna, who's crying profusely and seems frustrated. Just a day before the funeral, Paul gets to know that he's received a major promotion, and for that, he'll be shifting to Chicago for his new position. He then plans to take Anna to a high-end and well-suited restaurant and prepares to propose to her. However, things don't go exactly as he had planned. After arriving at the restaurant, Paul reveals the promotion news to Anna and his Chicago plans, but Anna immediately misunderstands Paul's gesture and becomes enraged. She mistakenly believes that he's breaking up with her and moving to Chicago, leaving her behind. After having a pointless fight with him, Anna storms out of the restaurant. Paul tries to convince and stop her, but Anna is not ready to listen. She speeds away in her car, even though it's raining heavily outside. On the way, it's very clear that she's driving in a state of heavy distress. Soon, a van approaches her from the opposite direction, honking very loudly, which distracts her. This results in a serious accident, leading to her death. Next, Anna wakes up on an embalming table in the funeral house where Elliot is cutting off her clothes. At first, she's super confused about what happened, as she cannot remember anything the previous night. Then Elliot informs her that she died in a car accident 8 hours ago. He also tells her that he's preparing her body for the funeral. Hearing this, Anna gets terrified and starts screaming. She desperately wants to leave the place, but her entire body is paralyzed. She keeps telling him that she's certainly alive and that something has gone wrong. But Elliot tries to talk sense into her. Finally, he shows her the death certificate with the coroner's signature on it. Meanwhile, Paul is worried about Anna because she hasn't returned home and she's not responding to his calls. On the other hand, Elliot has Anna's phone, but he refuses to receive any calls. Paul then goes to Anna's mother's house in the hopes that she'll know about Anna's whereabouts. However, Anna's mom tells him about her death in an accident that breaks him. She does not appear to like Paul and tells him that he should not have allowed her to drive in such bad weather. Paul is left heartbroken after hearing about Anna's tragedy and begins to sob uncontrollably. He even blames himself for everything that's happened to her. Paul simply cannot believe the love of his life is no longer with him. Next, we see Anna being stitched up for a head injury, but she's not feeling anything. She keeps arguing with Elliot that she's not dead and that he should not harm her, but Elliot tries to convince Anna again and again that she's dead. Later, Elliot reveals that he's got a gift that enables him to communicate with the dead people. Moments later, we hear someone knocking at the door. Hearing this, Elliot quickly injects hydronium bromide into Anna's neck to relax her muscles, knocking her out. It's shortly revealed that it's Anna's mother who came to see her daughter's face for the last time. After a while, Anna regains consciousness and checks her pulse, which shows no sign of life. This only adds to her confusion. Later, Anna realizes that Elliot is up in his office. Seizing this opportunity, she tries to get out of the place and bangs on the door, pleading for help. Exactly at that time, Paul comes to the funeral home asking to see Anna. Since he's not Anna's blood relative, Elliot refuses to let Paul see her. Paul screams at Elliot, accusing him of not understanding his emotion. On the other hand, when Anna hears Paul's voice, she begins to cry for help as well, calling out Paul's name. Unfortunately, Paul doesn't hear her voice and leaves with a heavy heart. Later, Anna questions Elliot's refusal to allow Paul to visit her. Elliot explains that she's already dead and that it's best not to put her loved ones through any stress after her death. This response from Elliot angers her, and she begins yelling at him repeatedly, saying she's not dead. Anna also to some extent suspects that Elliot is giving her something to knock her out. After hearing this, Elliot exits the basement and locks the door from the outside. Meanwhile, Paul is desperate to see Anna for one last time. He goes to the police station where his friend Tom works and asks for his help to make arrangements to meet Anna. But unfortunately, even the cop friend can't help him with this. Anna, on the other hand, makes several unsuccessful attempts to escape. She still can't believe she's dead as she can still breathe and talk. She again tries to convince Elliot that the doctors must have made some mistakes, but Elliot advises her to let go of life because she wasn't truly living it anyway. He then advises her to rest because the funeral is in 2 days and then leaves. After arguing with Elliot for a while, Anna gets tired and falls asleep. Soon she sees an old woman standing right in front of her and tells her that she's not ready. She even sees herself in the mirror and gradually accepts the fact that she's already dead. Later, she wakes up to realize that it was all her hallucinations. It's all in her mind and the drugs are adding to it. As a result, she wakes up frustrated and starts tossing away everything in the room. After a while, Elliot arrives and tells Anna to put on the black gown her mother sent for her funeral. Elliot carefully retrieves the keys to the basement from Elliot's coat where he had her locked up. After Elliot leaves, Anna makes numerous attempts to open the door before finally succeeding in opening the gate. She escapes and finds a room with a phone where she dials Paul's number. However, due to numerous interruptions on their call, Paul hangs up the call thinking someone is pranking him using Anna's name. At the same time, Elliot enters and begins screaming at her. He berates her on why the dead can't accept that they're indeed dead. When Anna doesn't believe him, he urges her to look in the mirror, which she does. But she's terrified to see her corpse-like self in the mirror. Shortly after, she exhales deeply, and the steam from her breath reflects in the mirror. However, Elliot carefully manages to wipe the steam off the mirror before Anna notices. Now, Anna finally begins to accept she has in fact passed away. Meanwhile, one of Anna's students, Jack, is watching this scenario unfold from the outside. When Paul goes to Anna's school the next day to pick up her belongings, Jack informs Paul that he saw Anna in a red dress the day before. Paul thinks Jack is being a jerk and punches him in the face in frustration and leaves. Next, we see Anna questioning Elliot about why the anguish hasn't gone away even though she's died. That very moment, a police officer arrives, knocking on the door. Elliot once again injects the same drugs into Anna's muscles to relax them and prevent rigor mortis from setting in. Elliot has another body, this time the brother of a police officer. Moments later, the officer notices Anna's head slightly moving and starts suspecting. The officer requests some alone time with his brother and uses the opportunity to check on Anna. Later, when Elliot meets Jack, he tells him even Jack has the ability to see and communicate with the dead, and he should not be afraid of his gift. His words have a major impact on Jack, who starts believing that he saw the dead Anna the day before. Later, we see that Jack's got a sick chick at his home and is trying to nurse her back to health. However, Jack buries the chick in a box even though it's still alive. Elliot has convinced Jack that the beings that are incapable of living must be buried. Although the chick is clinically alive, it refuses to heal and get better. This gives Jack enough justification to declare the chick dead and bury it. Next, a mannequin dressed in a red slip reminds Paul of Anna's outfit. He remembers Anna wearing that outfit the day she crashed her car. Eventually, he remembers Jack telling him about seeing Anna in a red dress the other day. This incident leads Paul to believe that Anna is still alive and rushes down to the basement, where he calls out to Anna but fails again. This time, Anna hears Paul's voice, but she doesn't respond to him as she's convinced now that she's dead. Paul, on the other hand, doesn't lose hope. He keeps trying to contact his police friends so that they could get a search warrant for Elliot's house. But they don't believe him, as Anna was declared dead since she didn't have a heartbeat or a pulse. Later, Elliot asks Anna about what makes her the happiest and fulfills her, to which Anna has no answers. She even admits that she doesn't know what truly makes her happy. Hearing this, Elliot becomes enraged and tells her that it's Anna who refuses to accept happiness in her life and always expects tragedy. Anna claims that it's not true and that she has always starved for love. Hearing this, Elliot tells her that Paul truly loves her. However, this is exactly what Anna fears the most, that their love would fade away someday. On her funeral day, while Elliot is making Anna ready for her funeral, she wishes to see herself one last time in the mirror. Elliot accepts her request and shows the mirror to her. When she exhales, the mirror fogs up, but this time, she notices it. She immediately realizes that Elliot has been lying to her from the start. Anna also finds out that Elliot has sufficiently drugged her to the point where she's unable to feel anything, including her pulse. But it's too late now, as she's already missed her opportunity to escape. However, she tries to escape and starts screaming, but Elliot once again drugs her forcefully, and thereby the funeral ceremony begins. He also puts enough makeup on Anna to make her look like a corpse. In the next scene, Paul arrives to see Anna for the last time. He touches her and reacts as if Anna was too cold. Paul presents her with an engagement ring that he had carried with him on the day he planned to propose to Anna. Suddenly, we see that Anna is attempting to wake up, but is unable to because of the drugs injected into her. However, Paul fails to notice this. The same incident occurs with a piano teacher in the first scene as well. Elliot then closes the lid as soon as possible. Sometime later, Anna wakes up only to discover that she's been buried alive. Next, we see Elliot, who has a collection of photographs of corpses who he's helped make the transition, according to him. He then adds Anna's photo to the collection. Later at night, Paul feels frustrated and full of remorse. Shortly after a few drinks, he gets violent with Elliot since he's always been suspicious of him. To trigger him more, Elliot says that Anna could still be alive. Hearing such words from Elliot, Paul panics and rushes to the graveyard. But given that Paul is very drunk, he's not able to drive safely. He's seen to be going too fast and making too many risky overtakes. Next, Anna is seen waking up to the sound of the earth being shoveled upon her coffin. She sobs and claws the lid's satin lining. There, she sees Paul doing everything he can to take her out of the hole. Finally, they get to meet each other after multiple failed attempts. Anna tells Paul that she's always loved him more than anything. Moments later, Paul asks about the strange noise he hears, to which Anna responds that it's the sound of Elliot's gloves and scissors preparing for Paul's body. The scene then shifts to Paul, who finds himself in the funeral preparation room. He finds Elliot and Anna's student Jack standing over him, preparing his body in the same manner as Anna's. Elliot then informs him that he never made it to Anna's grave since he was killed in a car accident on his way to the cemetery. The beauty of finally meeting Anna and her crying in his arms exists only in Paul's mind. In reality, Paul got struck by an SUV while taking a blind turn. As Elliot was following him, he injected Paul just like he did to Anna right after the accident took place. The movie ends with Paul being at Elliot's funeral home, where the paramedics have declared him dead. Paul protests that he's still alive until Elliot stabs Paul to death. As a result, Paul yells in pain and passes away. The end.